What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back, and I am bringing you a fantastic Pokemon card weekly auction recap. Topics for this week's video. Japanese full art trainers and Japanese Pikachu promo cards are still just doing phenomenally well. The PSA 10 Japanese Alola Friends card that's been really shooting up in value the past several weeks had a pretty unfortunate auction result this week we'll be going over. And apparently the CGC 9.5 Lugia is now over double the value because it's going to be turned into a CGC 10. So before we jump into this auction recap, please consider using my eBay affiliate link, which will be in the description below. So if you enjoy seeing these auction recaps and you love the top 10 videos, please do use that link to help me out. I would really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's jump into this auction recap with a couple of Black Label English cards. Here we have a Deoxys VMAX from Crown Zenith, got the BGS 10 Black Label, sold for $510. And then from Astral Radiance, we saw an alt art Beedrill V with a Black Label, and it sold for $810. Here is a Japanese Glaceon VMAX from the Eevee Hero set. Got a Black Label and sold for $2,025. And then here we saw a PSA 10 Japanese Umbreon VMAX, also from Eevee Heroes. This card sold for $4,200. And then we saw a BGS 10 Pristine example of this card, and it sold for $7,800. And the Latios alt art card in PSA 10 landed the price of $2,500 this week. But enough of the Pokemon crap, right? Pokemon. Let's take a look at the full art trainers because that's what Pokemon's all about, right? We saw the very first graded copies of the special illustration rare Iono trainer card. Here's a PSA 9 that sold this week for $142. And then we saw two PSA 10 copies come by. One sold for $675, the other one for $676. We also saw two examples of this full art Acerola from Burning Shadows in PSA 10. One sold for $1,248, the other one sold for $1,425. And then here is a Chinese full art Acerola from Dreams Come True in PSA 10 that sold for $1,125. Here we have a Japanese full art Lily's Full Force from Dream League that sold for $1,862. And then we saw this Chinese full art Lily from Dream League in PSA 10 that sold for $3,351. From Forbidden Light is a Japanese lady trainer card that sold for $1,200. And then again from Dream League, we saw a Japanese full art Rosa that sold for $1,335. We saw a couple of full art Sightseers come through again this week in PSA 10. Here's one that sold for $2,600. And then we saw two other examples that sold for $2,650. From Tag Team GX All-Stars, here's a full art Erica's Hospitality in PSA 10 that sold for $2,550 big ones. And then what the heck? Let's throw a Gaifu in here. Here is a full art Steven promo card. This is a Pokemon Center promo from the XY era in PSA 10 that sold for $1,525. Here we saw a BGS 10 Black Label Japanese Flareon EX that sold for $4,371 US. And then up next we saw a vast amount of Japanese promo Pikachu cards. Here are three of the 2014 Pikachu Battle Festa promo cards in PSA 10. One sold for $1,700, another one sold for $2,275, another one for $2,600. And then we saw two of the 2015 Pikachu Battle Festa promo cards. This one here sold for $2,600, while a BGS 10 Black Label sold for $5,150. And then we saw two examples of this 2015 Black and White 15th Anniversary Full Art Pikachu. They both sold for $2,900 this week. And then lastly, we saw this 20th Anniversary Full Art Pikachu EX that sold as a PSA 10 for $2,280. Getting into some vintage cards, here is a Japanese Charizard from base set in Gem Mint 10 that sold for $5,100. Here is an Unlimited Flareon Holo from Jungle that sold for an even $500. And then we saw lots of these pre-release Aerodactyl cards. Some with the Cosmos Holo, some with the regular Holo. Here is a CGC 10 Cosmos Holo Aerodactyl pre-release that sold for $505, while the regular holo in CGC 10 sold for $677. And then we saw a CGC 10 perfect example with the Cosmos holo that sold for $2,101. We saw one card from Legendary Collection. This reverse holo Ivysaur, sold for $558. And then we saw a couple of CGC 9.5 first edition Lugias from Neo Genesis. Now, a little bit of context, this card was selling about 6 months ago for $3,840. But ever since CGC announced that their Gem Mint 9.5s would be Gem Mint 10s now, the price has increased pretty drastically. Here is a CGC 9.5 that sold in auction for $9,276 US. And then we saw another example of a CGC 9.5 that sold for $9,900. So folks, what do you think? So you slap a 10 on the card and all of a sudden it's worth 2.5 times as much? Do you agree with this? Let me know. Up next, we have some more Neo cards. Here's an unlimited Espeon holo from Neo Discovery that sold for $870. And then here we have the OG Moonbreon in first edition that sold as a Gem Mint 10 for $6,100. Here is a CGC 10 first edition Ho-Oh from Neo Revelation, sold for $1,701. And then getting into the EX era, we have this Charizard holo from EX Dragon, sold for $1,575. And then we saw this Charizard holo from Diamond and Pearl Secret Wonders that sold for $3,200. And then we saw numerous old school EX cards. I'm going to go over them from least to greatest. Here's a Ho-Oh EX from Unseen Forces that sold for $1,150. Here is a Mew EX from Legend Maker that sold for $1,238. Here is a Suicune EX from Team Magma versus Team Aqua that sold for $2,763. Here is a beautiful Gengar EX from Fire Red Leaf Green that sold for $2,738. A Lugia EX, also from Unseen Forces, that sold for $3,600. Here's an Espeon EX from Unseen Forces that sold for $3,751. And then here's a Charizard EX, also from Fire Red Leaf Green, that sold for $3,889 big ones. Just a couple pieces of sealed product before we get into the PWCC auction recap. Here is a Diamond and Pearl Stormfront booster box that sold this week for $7,101. And then here is a fake unlimited base set booster box that may or may not have sold for $13,871. And I pray that this was just shill bidded up and it wasn't actually paid for, because, man, something that disgusts me about this hobby more than anything else are sealed boxes like this that could manage to steal $13,000 to $14,000 from someone's pocket. I hate the fact that these are on the market, so please be very careful when you're buying vintage booster boxes. All right, on to the PWCC weekly auction block. Here is a 2010 World's Championships promo card of the Tropical Tidal Wave card in PSA 10 that sold for $1,320. Here is an Espeon Prime card from the Undaunted set that sold for $1,230, along with this Gengar Prime from Triumphant that sold for $1,140. Here is a Black Label Japanese Play promo of Celebi. This is the second season holo that sold for $1,470. And according to the title, this is a Pop 1 Black Label. Up next is another Black Label. This is the Japanese Play Jirachi second season promo card that sold for $1,590. Here we saw a PSA 10 base set unlimited Chansey. And if you don't know, Chansey is the lowest pop holo from base set. I think no matter whether it's unlimited, first edition, or shadowless, it's always going to be the lowest pop because it's like the hardest to grade. This card sold for $1,830 this week. From Neo Destiny, we saw a couple of beautiful holos come by. Here is a Light Togetic that sold for $2,100. A first edition Light Arcanine that sold for $2,160. A first edition Tyranitar from Neo Discovery sold for $2,250. Here we have a first edition Smeargle holo in PSA 10 that sold for $4,080. And then lastly, from Neo Destiny, we saw a first edition Dark Espeon that sold for $3,120. And then we see a bunch of PSA 10 copies of this card, but a BGS 10 Full Art Sightseer came by, and it sold for $2,760. From Fossil Set, we saw another first edition Articuno holo in PSA 10 come by, and it sold for $3,480. Here's a holographic Umbreon from Skyridge that sold for $3,840. We saw from Neo Destiny a first edition Shining Mewtwo This sold for $3,840 as well. Up next is a Japanese full art collection moon lily card. This sold for $4,200 this week. And then here we have an SR competition full art Zekrom promo card that sold for $5,880. And let's not forget a couple of base set gems. Here's a first edition Raichu holo from base set in PSA 10 that sold for $7,200. And then we saw two base set unlimited Charizards come by. Here is a CG C10 pristine example that sold for $8,400, while a PSA 10 copy sold for $9,300. And then I saved these last two auctions because I felt they were by far the most interesting. Here is the full art Sun and Moon promo of the Alola Friends. The limited collection master battle set card. I believe last week this card sold for over $18,000. This week we saw a sale as a PSA 10 for $11,100. And then the auction of the week, I'm going to have to give to this complete set of Japanese Sun and Moon Scream promo cards. All these cards graded a PSA 10, sold this week for $14,822 large. And that concludes our auction recap, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really appreciate it. I thank you so much for tuning in. That's all I got. You know the drill. I'll catch you all in my next one.